language, or in the dress store. I'll be talking to a to the shop owner, and up it comes, and I'll be, talking, and the tears start to roll down her face.
Yeah.
So I really trust when it needs to come through.
Hey, everybody, it's Tanya here. I'm so excited to share Women Working with Light. It is a series of interviews with women from around the world who are doing what they love in service to themselves and to others. They are our healers, light workers, way showers, starseeds, artists, channelers, and so much more. In today's episode, my guest is Jo Gifford, who is a light language channel and emotional healer. We had a great conversation all about light language and how it works, and stick till the end because she is actually offering up a free healing to help you feel your best. Hey everybody, it's Tanya here. Welcome to another episode of Women Working with Light. And today I'm really excited to bring a guest forward who is a fellow channeler and light language speaker. And her name is Jo Gifford. And we're going to have some good conversations with you today. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for asking me, Tanya.
Well, I've got to tell you, you are doing some really incredible work, and I can't wait to get started and talk to you about it. And I think what I'm going to do is just share your info with everybody and let them know exactly what it is that you're doing. So Jo is a light language channel, an energy healer, and an intuitive. And she works with people to help them understand why their lives unfold the way that they do, to identify their patterns and beliefs, and make lasting changes in all areas in their lives. Jo's primary focus is inner child healing and the light language that she transmits, which helps to release the energy at the core of the issue and recode the DNA. Oh, that is exciting. We're going to have a lot to talk about. So I would love to hear about the light language and how that came forward. But I think maybe before that, just maybe to share with everybody how you came to this point, sort of the short form of your awakening journey. How did this all start for you?
Well, I first learned to meditate at 22. So I'm actually 60. So it's been a long internal journey. It's been my focus. I don't have any children. I haven't had a partner for 14, 15 years. It's really been my own internal journey that I've been focusing on. I went to a spiritual school for quite a number of years, and that really was the foundation of my my learning and my knowledge. That school brought forth that movie, What the Bleep, if ever you've ever seen that. So the three people that brought that movie together were at the school that I attended for all those years. So when I returned to Australia, because I lived in the United States for a number of years, when I returned to Australia in 2008, the end of 2008, I ended up getting into this, using that knowledge and my experiences in a professional basis. I started out tarot reading, and then organically I went into inner child healing. And so when I drew people to me for tarot reading, they were often beginners on the internal journey. So I did a lot of teaching. I would say more than anything, I'm a teacher of understanding how this reality works, incorporating things like the law of attraction and quantum mechanics to understand the mechanics of this reality. So around 3 years ago, the light language came through. And that actually became, I didn't even know what it was at the beginning. I had never heard the term light language. And I drew people to me that ultimately explained it, and it became a part of my process. And I have worked with that for the last 3 years in my healing practice.
Right. Oh, I'm so tickled to learn about this because light language channeling is something that I've done in my spiritual journey. And for me, it wasn't so much an intention, as I know some people now hear about it and they're like, oh, this is fantastic. And I would really like to explore it. For me, it just sort of showed up out of nowhere and I didn't understand it. And it came through verbally, as singing, as uh, speaking, and then it turned into light codes. And the light codes then incorporated into my channeling with other galactic groups and then became into my art. So I'm curious for you if you have all three aspects or if there's just one form that's come forward that you really focus on.
Well, I speak words, I tone, I sing, I dance and do movements with my hand and my body. That's it. That's pretty much it. I use those three main ways. I like a lot of people write, can actually write language right all the way across a page and down a page. And I do certain small symbols, but I actually don't do full writing.
Mm. Actually, it just occurs to me that there might be people that aren't familiar with light language. It's so much a part of my life, I forget about that. So maybe if you would share your ideas about what it is and what it means to you.
Okay, so it comes like English is a little bit fickle, for example. Like I might say, I love you, but it could be conditional because you're a great cook or because you support me. There's another element to it. And light language is very direct and very obvious. It's very pure. It comes from a couple of different places. It can come from the galactics. It can come from the guys in Inner Earth. But for me, I think a lot of it comes from different aspects of me in other wens. So we've all lived as different beings on different places, different planets. Whew, it's coming. I can feel it coming up now because I'm discussing it. But it could be me in the future, and so it has codes and frequencies in it that we absorb into our system, which helps upgrade, which helps release fears, release old traumas. It can do a lot of different things. So you can sometimes directly translate it word for word or almost word for word, but sometimes it's a lot of just toning, clicks, pops, all sorts of interesting sounds which don't really sound like a language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because it's something that for me has been part of my life for quite a few years, about 6 or 7. But previous to that, it's something that I was doing, but I didn't, it wasn't in the collective consciousness. There wasn't a term light language, light codes. And I used to just think, oh, it's just my brain, releasing a bunch of energy and, it's just gibberish. But then I realized that it wasn't. And it was, for me, the way that it happens is it comes through in a wave, sort of, I think, what you're experiencing in this moment. And it needs to be expressed, but I do not actually see it as a language with a direct interpretation. For me, what it's been is more of an intention and an energy form and an anchoring of frequencies into this third dimensional experience that we're all having. But I'm asked quite a lot, how do I know what I'm seeing? How do I know if this is right for me? Am I supposed to do this? Is so people that have come to light language are asking, how do I know if it's A, legitimate, and B, if it's a direct translation? Because everybody wants to know what it means. So I know I threw a lot in there, but I'm curious from your point of view, as someone that brings it through and actually sees a direct translation, how do you censor it or do you just allow it to flow?
What happens when I speak light language is I'm not in my neocortex. It comes from my midbrain. Sorry, it's still what is the energy is really moving. So I'm sort of not thinking. There's a blank space that is sort of in my mind. And as I'm talking it, I will get a little vision, or I will get a phrase, or I will get a couple of words. So it's not like I'm hearing words and then speaking light language, or I speak the light language and I hear word after word. It's really, I'm getting the gist of it because that's how I do it. I do know of people who actually can translate it as word for word if it is a being specifically speaking. But for me, there's just a blankness as I'm speaking, and then I'll get like a picture of a mountain or a picture of the planet Earth with all lights around it. And then I can actually, then I sort of pop that image in to what I'm speaking. I'll stop and say, I'm being shown, this, and then I will just keep speaking without really there is really nothing to censor from my perspective. And somebody asked me before, how do you know that what you are speaking is genuine? It's that the fact that many people tear up when they hear it. Many people start to cry. And the interesting thing is, when they cry, they're not crying. The tears just roll down the face. They're like sitting there listening, and the tears start coming. And it is a soul recognition. That's the most definitive feedback that I get, is how people feel about it. Some people feel like it's a warm hug. Some people laugh. And that's how you know. That's how I know. And I've learned to trust it because of the way that the people that I speak it to are moved when they hear it.
Oh, I have so many questions. I think my first question is, when you are bringing forward light language, is there a particular group or energy that you work with, or do you just have the language coming up on its own, and then maybe after the fact it's connected to a particular group?
Most of the time, the people that are watching, or the person that I'm speaking it to, determine who or what comes through, because it's not something I choose. I can bring forth whoever that person needs, and what it is they need to hear, because this is all divinely guided from my perspective. When I first started to speak 3 years ago in this language, I was asleep, going to go to sleep in bed, and I sat up and just started speaking light language. And I spoke for 2 minutes each a different light language. So there would have been 5 different beings that spoke through me. And they all each had different hand gestures. And as I'm doing this, in that blank space in my mind came Universal Translator. Di kota ya bota kataria chits nde be at kotar senda darkikana. Skuti gwal sha ayam skambotist sikobodrst aknde skete etika okoteria janchanganda. Musik njik nge suk nge si atakianaka. Skuti nge bobotik nge si saka eti da nge na siketi So I have, in a way, nothing came through in that transmission, but it is a very high being. It is a being beyond these frequencies. It is beyond polarity. It is just somebody who is watching what we are going through with great love and great awe in a way, and compassion. And that's the energies that I get from this very big, huge being.
Oh, wonderful.
I could just speak for like half an hour nonstop. I actually just have to, okay, that's enough. That's enough.
I totally relate. And as you were doing that, and for those of you who are listening to the podcast, we are also videotaping this for the YouTube channel, and you might want to check that out because in addition to the speaking, you might feel and visually see the resonance that is coming from Jo as she's doing it, because afterwards she was doing some hand gestures and I could feel the energy coming from that as well as the speaking. And so it's a multi-level experience, isn't it? Doing light language and bringing it through. And I'm feeling the same as you are, that I'm actually having to, because it's activating me, and there's like all of this stuff that's wanting to connect with your energy in that same light language. And so I'm just trying to, let's all chill out, everybody. And
but yes, we are here doing this interview, but both of our galactic family or higher self, etc., are going to utilize this opportunity to do some work with you and me on another level.
Absolutely. Yeah, it never stops.
It doesn't. And anybody that's listening or anybody that watches this will gain the same uplift or the same coding that we are getting. So it's just, that's why they're jumping in, because they know they've got a good audience. They're going to reach more people. And so, yes, it's about the interview, but it's also, let's use this opportunity to activate some more people. Let's do some opening of some doors with the people that are watching and listening.
Yes, exactly. And that was another question I had, which is for people that are hearing about these concepts for the first time. First off, welcome. Thank you, and coming to the party, because there's a lot to play with here. Maybe, Jo, if you could explain to them what the concept of DNA activation, coding, recoding means, because a lot of people will bring their previous experience and patterning that we've had as children, taught that DNA is a very specific setup in our molecular structure. So if they're coming from that science background, how do you integrate the metaphysical, the spiritual approach?
Well, if this is new to you, the first thing I would suggest is you have a read of some Bruce Lipton books. Bruce Lipton is a biologist, so a scientist, and he discovered and investigated the fact that the thoughts affect DNA. The DNA is not set in stone. We have, 93% junk DNA, 97% junk DNA is what traditional scientists call, and we only use 3%. Now, why do we have that? What is in that other 97%? And I believe it's things that we've forgotten or lost because of the environment we've been living in for thousands of years, which is a whole other topic of what's been happening on this planet. But essentially, my understanding is that 97% can be awakened. And within that is teleportation, is invisibility, is wings, is whatever. I think there's a lot more that we will come to discover in that, in this journey of ascension, in this journey of expansion. So not only, I think it actually helps. So the belief is that we actually have only at this moment 2 strands of DNA, but concept is we're going up to 12 strands, and that's really our natural state. And as the coding of the light language comes in, it helps activate, firstly, that junk, what is defined as junk, not necessarily junk. It'll help activate that junk, plus also change and expand and open what we currently are using. Now, again, this is not something that happens to you. You have to be in agreement of this. So people don't have to worry that, oh my God, this is happening to me and I don't want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't resonate with you, this language, you are the creator in your life and it will not have an effect on you. So don't feel that this is overriding your willpower or anything like that. There's all sort of free will in this. But if it feels good and it resonates and you open to it, what happens is it will then be incorporated into your energy system. If you don't like it, it will bounce off your energy system. If it doesn't resonate and it's not for you, it will bounce off. So DNA is waiting to be woken up again, and the light language will assist on that. But it also helps heal trauma. And that's what I use it for when I work with clients. So when people are in their memories of the trauma and feeling the emotions, I speak the light language, and that helps transmute it and release it and heal it.
So how do you, I'm curious about the work that you're doing, because your specialty is doing inner child healing. And so if someone was to come to you to have a session or an experience of light language, do you find that they are coming sort of as an open book to explore these new, some people want to try a little bit of everything in the spiritual world, which is great. Always fun to play with all the different things. Or do you find that people come specifically because they're trying to let go of a particular trauma in their past that they're kind of blocked on, or perhaps it's just an open book and the energy that you are providing is calling those that need that energy regardless of what they're going through?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of those, but there is a divine guidance. So someone could come to me simply for a tarot reading, and that's what their interest is. And they have never heard light language before. They don't understand about the inner child aspect. And so I introduce them to it a little bit. And if they're ready to hear the light language, it will come up in me and they will be open to it. And it can be so profound, that shift. So it's a bit of everything. But again, as I said, I think there's some divine plan that destines us or the client and I to meet, or the person in the supermarket who I just get chatting with. Sometimes I'll bring forth light language, or in the dress store, I'll be talking to a to the shop owner, and up it comes, and I'll be talking, and the tears start to roll down her face.
Yeah.
So I really trust when it decides, or when a being, or when it needs to come through.
And it's so interesting as you're saying that, because it's reminding me of some of the representations that we have seen in the media and TV shows and movies, whatnot, of individuals who are open to their natural gifts, their intuition, their psychic senses, whatever words you want to put on it, and how we are drawn to different people and have these interactions. And, I just keep thinking of the TV show Medium, where she was walking in the grocery store and then was just overwhelmed that she had to share a message with somebody. So how do you find, if you are out and about in the wild and you suddenly feel that there needs to be a connection or a light language transmission for a particular person, do you find that in general people are very receptive to it and wondering what it's about and just ready to hear?
99% of the time, yes. I just am drawn to people. Like, I was walking through a park one day and there was a guy in his van, and his cat ran out in front of me and back into the van. And I went, oh. And so I went over to the van and chatted with this guy. And he was homeless, and he was struggling to find his way. And we just got chatting. And then I brought through light language. And it really was so important to him. So it's not that, it's that when I meet someone, it's in the process of talking to them that the energy, the light language comes up. I don't see somebody and go, I've got to go and talk light language to that person. It's somehow we meet, somehow we're magnetized to have a chat about, the weather or how, what's going on in their lives or this dress or whatever. And as our energies get close to each other and we start talking, then I can feel it sometimes that the muscles and the energy coming up for me to say something.
Okay, so now I'm really curious because I do a lot of work for galactic groups over the last couple of years. I've been a channeler for a long time, but the last couple of years it got really specific around galactics. In the Starseed paradigm, there are many people that are light language channels and expressing it in different ways. And so what I'm really fascinated by is, do you find that you have people coming to you that identify as starseeds and want a particular group to bring forward a message?
No.
Oh.
I'm dealing with people awakening on the journey mostly. I'm dealing a lot with novices on this journey. It's interesting now that you say that. I get people coming to me for emotional healing. That's the bulk of the people that I have come to me to talk about their traumas, to talk about why they can't get their life to work out the way they want, why they keep doing the same thing over and over, why they have a problem with their partner. I have been highly, highly emotional all of my life. I feel everything so much. And I would have to say I've cried buckets and buckets of tears in the last 30 odd years, processing the grief on this planet. So I'm really helping people at an emotional level. Because the emotion is right. I'm about to cry because the emotion comes up in me, and in my ability to sit with them and their emotion and to resonate with it and feel it and process it, I help them release it. Not that I sit there and cry with them, but it's not a problem to have somebody in front of me, touch a deep chord within them. I understand, and I have empathy for that, and understanding and compassion. So I help them process it and feel it and let it go. So it's a very different thing now that you're saying it. I have never had anybody ask me such direct questions about my light language and my practice. I'm an emotional healer. I'm a releaser, helping people release their trapped emotions, their old habits, stuff that's been hanging around for a few lifetimes.
And as you're speaking, because I'm very visual and I'm an energy sensor, and like you, very sensitive. And I'm really getting a sense that a session with you is very comforting and very nurturing. And I just keep seeing this beautiful visual of like an energy field, giving someone a soft, warm hug. And it sounds like such a transformative kind of an experience. And I'm sure that you're seeing that with a lot of the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about the light language itself. Do you find that the people that you are working with And I'm not sure if you can answer this, if people are coming back or not, but do you find that in that activation, that sort of awakening back to remembering who they are as a spiritual being, or the recoding of the DNA, or bringing forward these really cathartic moments where, there's literally tears rolling down their face. Do you find that these people are then activated into more of their spirituality, or are you finding that the people that you're working with are being sort of awakened, activated into light language themselves?
No, no. I do light language mentoring. I'm helping people cope with being a human being.
Mm.
Tuyena, tuyena makiata. So that's what I'm doing. I'm helping them clear all the stuff that's been stuck for, I don't know, eons maybe. And then they move on to the next, maybe get drawn to somebody else. It's to go really into that. I explain also as a teacher, help people understand the programming. I people talk about the 7-year-old inside of us and how we, why do they look at the world that they do right now? I do this whole long 1 hour almost discussion about why we look at the world. I talk about conditioned responses. So it's sort of like there's an epiphany that happens 90% of the time with my clients where they go, oh my God, I can see the big picture. I can see the jigsaw. I can see why my life is the way that it is. And then we work through releasing some of that. And then they take that knowledge and start applying it in their lives to see how they're knee-jerk reacting to their world. It's about getting people to stop and become the observer of the programming that we have been conditioned to live lifetime after lifetime, through the early years of our lives, that we've been influenced by parents that have their own inner wounds. So I do a lot of teaching in a session. I do an explanation. I get them to talk about their lives and show them the pieces of the puzzle, then help them release. So that's essentially what is the basis of the way that I help. I don't know if I answered the question then. I just got lost
Yes,
a
you
bit.
did. You did, and more, and that was excellent. One of the things I was reading, I can't remember if it was in your videos or if it was in your bio, about the concept of this, what to call it. I'm going to use my own language because I don't remember how you phrased it. But for me, what it felt like was a stuck point in the development of us as a human at the age of 7, where at that
Yes.
age, it's like a freeze frame. And then you're sort of living from that experience. So tell me a bit about that and how that came to be part of your work.
I organically moved into the inner child. And I can't really tell you how I got into this or why. It just, as I was talking up came. So I know that there's a deeper part of me that is teaching, and I've been a teacher in many different places and many different times. So what I say is, most people in the world are run by an emotional 7-year-old.
Mm.
Most people in the world at around 7 or so years put on a pair of glasses with filters in them that are frozen, as you say, in that point of time in those early years. And they don't even know they've got them on.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is looking at the world from what you say, that frozen in time perspective. And I've forgotten your original question. Just off the top of my question, off the top of my mind, and allowing it to flow. So what
Yeah.
did I answer your question? I have to ask that again, unfortunately.
I feel like you did, and what I was curious about was how that became part of your work, that particular
Uh,
perception of the 7-year-old spot of the perspective of the 7-year-old and how that influences us as an adult, and the work that you're doing, how that is perhaps bringing an awareness to that, but also allowing people the space to choose if they want to live there or have a different experience, to let go of some of those ideas that they had when they were a child that don't serve them anymore.
well, the school that I went to in the United States was, the teacher was Ramtha. You may not have heard of him. He uh, is an ascended being, and he channeled through a woman called Jay-Z Knight. And he taught us a lot of this stuff. It was really a spiritual boot camp where you understood the program and understood that we were just predominantly a bunch of chemical reactions in many cases. So that was the beginning of my knowledge base, I suppose. And so we were taught, and then we would do all of these exercises, which would bring it from philosophy into practice and into wisdom. So I have actually a video on my YouTube channel called My Spiritual Journey. And it's about an hour long, and I talk about that school and what we went through. And it was like a boot camp. It was incredibly tough in some respects, but you saw yourself. It was put in your face. And so I understood the whole emotional body, the program at that point. And then I went and looked in other things as well. I had a look at NLP. I looked at the Sedona method, Byron Katie, a lot of different things added to all of that information.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back and I started tarot reading, it just fell into place. That's how I got into this as a profession. People would come and ask me, why doesn't my partner care about me? And I would do the cards, and all of this teaching would come out, all of this knowledge, and I would help them understand from the bigger picture why their lives were unfolding over and over the same way, and understanding the program. There's books that are fantastic out there, different authors, E.J. Gold, um, I can't think of I think it's called a workbook. There's another one called The Human Biological Machine as a Transformational Apparatus. There's a lot of Joe Dispenza's work. There are many books that I've read, many things that sort of all just incorporated into this practice to explain to people, firstly, on a logical level, what's going on in their lives, why things are happening over and over. And that understanding of the patterning and the where it comes from, where its roots are in those first years, it's just, there's a weight lifted off. There's that's what it is. I can see this now. And once they see that, that's about 70% of healing the problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's to become the observer of your conditioning, your conditioned responses, your belief systems, and saying, do I want to keep walking in this direction? Do I want to keep having this reaction? And then we work on the emotions, and then we work on so in the moment of the triggering in the now, I take them back to the point that it was set up in this life. So I might take them back to 4 years of age or 6 years of age. And I called that the 7-year-old. But the other name for the 7-year-old is your unfinished business from other lifetimes. Because the
Oh.
reason you chose your parents is because it would set you up energetically to draw to you experiences that would trigger you to feel an emotion, because in the core of that emotion is energy, and that is the energy that is encoded on your frequency wave. and that determines what is drawn to you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you change what's drawn to you? By understanding your frequency wave and thus feeling the emotions that are connected and related to that frequency wave.
And it's such a wonderful time. I mean, everybody's saying it's a wonderful time to be alive, but it truly is, because we have this amazing energy now, this wonderful collective consciousness where we have access to more than we have ever had. And the freedom to make all of these choices, to become the observer, as you were saying, which is a word that I love. And when I was working as a classical homeopath, that was the most beneficial thing in my life, was learning that ability to become an observer, to be neutral. And so when you learn that skill to be able to look at your own life in that way, it really does give you this opportunity of awareness to say, all right, do I want to continue on doing what I'm doing? Or perhaps there's other ways of beingness, other ideas and concepts that I want to follow that will get me to a place where I have that sense of well-beingness. Because it's, I think for many people in their awakening journey, on their spiritual path, there is a point where you realize that the deepest search in your life might not actually be happiness, in quotes, you know, it's not trying to find something that's going to fill the void, that's going to give you happiness, but rather it is learning to enjoy the experience, being content with where you're at, having that overwhelming joy and excitement and curiosity about the possibilities that are out there. And when we go inside and we begin to become aware of our own patterns and these opportunities again of the beings that are around us, whether that is our family, our ancestry, the friends, our relationships, the people we choose as partners, whether that's in work or romantic or friendship, that not only mirror our own energy back to us, but can sometimes become a catalyst to change, right? So you're bringing, as you're speaking about, bringing it into this lifetime, these connections with others that give you that moment where you can go, oh, I'm so not liking this pattern. I'm seeing this pattern. It keeps coming up. Why do I keep having the same relationship over and over and over again? And perhaps you get to that point where you are ready to experience an emotional healing. You are ready to have the joy of the light language coming through as part of your energy field, you know, whether that is seeing it in a video or having an opportunity to work with someone who's doing this profound work like you are. And it's such an exciting time to be able to pick and choose all these things, even though we're all dancing around in this crazy duality, right? Where we have like the highest of light and the darkest of dark. But I mean, that's part of, like, you can see I've got my, for those of you who are joining me on my YouTube here, I've got the new background on. So I've got the sun and the moon, and it is the representation of the duality, but also the experience we're having on the earth at this point, which is exciting. Even when things are really challenging, and dark and hard, there is always this flip side, that there is a balance. And I think that's ultimately where we are traveling as beings in our spiritual journey. So we're looking for the balance. And so that sounds very much like the work that you're doing, Jo, is that you're bringing forward these moments of healing for people to then choose how they wish to move forward in their, you know, I like to call it playing around in the 3D, but how they're moving forward in their life. What rewarding work that must be.
It is. And I learn from my clients as well. I'm still here. If I wasn't still human and still needing lessons, I'd be ascended and gone. So when I finish a reading, or sometimes I'll be doing a session and I'll go, oh my God, that's me. You know, and that's the whole thing. I have this specific focus and skill, but I'm still processing all of my DNA, my genetics as well. So we're all in this together. And you are right, though, in that this polarity thing, we must embrace both sides of the spectrum. We must find love and compassion for all that is. And it's, for me, it's the only way out of here, if you want to say, use that phrase. The only way to move forward is to be not wedded to either end of the spectrum. It's to be understanding, you don't have to condone it, both ends, but you have to be compassionate with regard to both, and find the way to embrace with love all ends of the spectrum, from good to bad, from right to wrong, and to take that higher perspective. And that is what it is to move to this, say, 5D, 6D, 7D, is to understand that we have been everything in this journey. We've been here and we've been here. And if we judge here, then we still have unhealed stuff within us. What I like to sort of say is sometimes it's good to look at everything that's happening around us as an illusion, that everything is simply happening to show you you, to even your partner or your mother or the government. Everything is simply happening on one level to trigger you to have an emotion. Because if you're triggerable by a government, by a situation, by a person, then it shows you that you have something unhealed in yourself. And when you move out of victimization and go, what is this showing me about me? And let that go, you change your energy signature through that processing of what you are being triggered to feel. And that's how you change the other thing. You don't change the other thing by, it's not wrong to go and actively do something, but I would say it's as important to process your own feelings about this stuff. And that's how we change the world, because on one level, it's all an illusion showing us us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I have felt for a very long time, and it's something that comes up repeatedly in the different channeling that I do. And that is this wonderful ability as energetic beings to finally have this understanding that when we accept who we are for what we are, the old saying, warts and all, take it all, it's everything. It's beautiful because that awareness is allowing you to shift into healing and to release and let go these old patterns that we may have had for multiple lifetimes, timelines, dimensional, and allowing it to release. And as we do that, we are lifting up all of those around us because they are seeing somebody else do something that they might feel that they can't do. So perhaps there's a sense of fear or sadness or grieving or any of, what we call these lower level emotions, which are just, dalliances in the energy of a specific type. But allowing ourselves to truly let that go gives somebody a mirror image of something that they might be challenged with. And so then suddenly they have this idea or information or feeling that they too can do it. And perhaps they move into that themselves, and then it begins to affect another. And so we're doing this all one by one by one. And that's the beauty of all of these different ways to access that within ourselves. So,
and why it's so important for us to have these discussions so people can see and see it with their eyes that I am still rolling around in it at times, rolling around into humanity. And it's a tough gig, this one.
It is, but yet here we signed up for it.
Exactly.
I love all those spiritual memes where you have like the higher self that's just kind of like, really, like, come on, you're gonna leave this plane of existence and then be complaining to get right back in there again. So
yes, that's sort of I've heard I've heard that we're going to really laugh.
Yeah, why not? Um, oh my gosh, we could talk forever, but I'm feeling um, this sensation of pressure, which is the energy that wants to be expressed. And I would wonder if you would like to share if there is something coming forward, transmission of light language for those that are watching or are listening.
Okay. So as my focus is helping emotional issues or trauma, if anybody wants to think about what's troubling them at the moment, what is tripping them up, and feel the emotion of that situation, I will bring through some energy that will help shift that, help change it for you, and free you up. So if anybody wants to just focus in on their body, because it's anchored in the body, this is why we need to be within our system and look within and be fully anchored and within the body. So it's not that we're out there all the time. We have to heal this to go out, to go up, to go to where we need to be next. So, okay, so I'll bring through some language to help shift anything that is holding anyone back. Okay, just take a breath and relax, drop your shoulders and feel and breathe this energy in. Suyam boyam diem doyam ge awambe yange onde onge ne ambo yande yange ande ambu yange. E tu te aboko tati a te costa kandi amboko taria chetsi senda makitena. Iulalelo di kumbeti chetsi ze te konget su stenda botoyana. Idakiana namikia toshtezi itiananaka. Izetustashtianama. Aki ende no yongo. Emben nayangi nandiende ambo. Atena. Kuyena na makia te esteas tu stadiandaka. Ikamba ate shi rajorianda da brikana. Si kuka baristegena. Siataka. Sietu kea zujariana. It's going to be all right. Eshuya dada. Sia daraki kenza. Kamaya tarashia shia zaka ati andaraki kenya. Patieshe. Si deo dananda. Hikanana. Si ateo shushe si kumba. Ati koteasha. Tikondarekika. Etushiana. Bati keki ezio tushate gabo ote kamba atakia tia chiutaba etushadiataka. Igoda riashia shushia shashiata etukayana kiaka. My heart to yours.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jo. And thank you to the energies that are coming through and sharing this wonderful vibration and resonance with us right now. Oh, that was lovely. I can't wait to share this with people.
And I would suggest that people go back and listen to the light language, that little last transmission, a few times. Like get your phone, record it on your phone and listen to it off and on for a few more times.
That's very, Beautiful energy. So for me, it was incredibly visual, the colors and the light forms that were coming through. That was just wonderful.
Mm.
Thank you so much. Oh, that's lovely. Um, is there anything else that you would like to share with the people that are listening about the work that you're doing, or how to find you if they wanted to, or any of the transmissions that are coming through at this point in time right now?
Well, I have a YouTube channel and I have lots of videos with lots of light language on there for different reasons, different purposes. I've had it. So if you like the light language and you want to hear more of it, it's just there for everybody to have a listen to. So all my links are on there. I have a little workbook a little PDF workbook that has 6 or so steps that I take people through, processes to deal with the emotions. Once you read it through and you get practiced at it, you just use it throughout your life. So you're sitting in traffic and you're getting frustrated, you can use one of these things to help process it in the moment while you're sitting in traffic, just waiting. So everything shows us. So, I occasionally do Zoom calls where I just invite everybody on and do light language and help a couple of different people. Just have a look on my YouTube and have a look on my website. So, last final message, that we are loved more than we know. That we have a huge cheer squad. We have a lot of people supporting us, whether we know it or not. And as our frequency rises, if you wish to learn to speak light language, it will become pretty commonplace, I believe, as the frequency rises.
Oh, that's fantastic. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast, don't forget to check out the show notes, because that's where all those little goodies are going to be hiding. And on the YouTube video, I will link to Jo's channel, as well as the video she talked about earlier. Just take a look in the upstairs corner there. You'll find that. And so many wonderful ideas and concepts to play with. And I'm just tickled to learn more, Jo. You'll have to come back and tell us some more about the work and the light language, because I just feel like it's such a huge topic that is something that we get to play in. And as somebody that is doing it like you're doing it, but in a different way, mine is again more in the art than it is verbal at this point. But I feel like so many people are coming to it and really looking for community and trying to find out more about how other people are interacting with it. And in a way, I think hearing about what you're doing is a validation for a lot of people, not only to their light language and accessing all of these new vibrational frequencies that we are having around us, but also perhaps to just give them a bit of sense and comfort and know that it's okay. And that, as you said, we are so loved by so many that we have no idea about. So thank you so much for bringing forward all this information. Absolutely love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are welcome. This has been wonderful.
All right, everybody. Thank you for checking out the podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes or click that more button down at the bottom there. You know, there's goodies hiding down there, even though you forget. So you see the word description on your YouTube, click that button. There's good stuff in there. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Women Working with Light podcast. Don't forget to check out the other episodes, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining Jo and I today on this episode of Women Working with Light. And if you would like to check out more or the show notes, do head over to podcast.tanyaqc.com for more information. You can also click on the down button or the more description area on your YouTube player and get a direct link to Jo's information as well as mine. So if you are interested in learning more about Starseeds or the channeling, Starseed art and services that I provide, you can find that there. Thanks so much for joining us. I love having you guys here. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, because you never know who you might help by taking a moment to share something that's important to you. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.